It was late summer in Madison, Wisconsin. I lost my job at the warehouse a couple weeks back. Some bullshit about cutbacks. And my roommate kicked me out when I couldn't cover rent. No family to crash with. No savings. Just me, a backpack with a change of clothes, a toothbrush, and a half-empty water bottle. Homeless. The word tasted like dirt in my mouth. I figured the bike trail around Lake Mendota would be safer than downtown. You know, that loop where joggers and cyclists zip by during the day. But at night it's quiet, almost peaceful. I walked for what felt like miles, my sneakers rubbing blisters into my heels. The lake lapped softly against the shore, and the city lights flickered across the water like distant stars. I found a spot off the path, tucked behind some bushes near the water's edge. Not too hidden, but enough to feel like I wasn't on display. I unrolled my sleeping bag stolen from a garage sale years ago and crashed hard. Woke up sometime deep in the night. No alarm, no noise at first. Just this prickling on the back of my neck, like when you know someone's watching. My eyes cracked open just a sliver, and there he was, sideways in my vision, crouched low, maybe 8 feet away. A woman, I think. Dark clothes, long hair, face shadow. Motionless, like a predator sizing up prey. My heart slammed against my ribs, but I played dead, keeping my breathing slow, eyes barely parted. What the f*** was this? Robbery? Worse? She shifted, inching closer. 1 foot, then the other, slow as molasses. I could smell her now, sweat and something sour, like cheap booze. My mind raced. No phone, no one around. If she jumped me, that was it. I thought about all the stories I heard from the men I knew. Friends, exes, who talked about that gut-wrenching fear of being alone at night. The way every shadow could hide a threat. Hell, I brushed it off before, thinking it was a girl thing. But there I was, vulnerable as shit, heart pounding like a drum. She took another step, close enough I could hear her breath. I couldn't wait anymore. I let out a deliberate cough, rough and groggy, like I was stirring awake. Shifted a bit in my bag for good measure. She froze, then bolted, crunching leaves, fading footsteps. Gone. I sat up, scanning the dark adrenaline buzzing through me like electricity. The lake was still. I didn't sleep after that. Just sat there till dawn, gripping a rock like it was a weapon. I started carrying a knife the next day. Picked up a cheap folder from a pawn shop with my last $20. Slept with it under my pillow in shelters, or clutched it in my hand on the streets. For years. Even after I got back on my feet, a buddy hooked me up with construction work, then an apartment. It stayed in my pocket. Dating women after that. I listened when they talked about walking home alone, keys between fingers. I'd walk them to their cars, stay on the phone till they were safe inside, because I got it now. That fear. It doesn't discriminate.
My name is Maria. I'm from Greece, and this is a true story which happened with me some time back. Right out of college, I worked as a professional babysitter for a year. It was a great gig, and I really bonded with the kids. Some were brattier than others, but I truly believe that every child was good at heart. And then I met the Thomas twins, Josie and Jonathan. Their father was a businessman, and their mother was a socialite, so of course the twins were spoiled brats. Mr. Thomas agreed to pay me double my usual amount because he knew that they were difficult. Troubled was the word he used. I assured him that I could handle them. I had a degree in child psychology, and I'd always had a knack for getting children to like me. I showed up to their house on Friday night. The place was enormous. Because this was my first time there, I expected Mr. and Mrs. Thomas to spend some time introducing me to the kids and going over their house rules. Instead, they were out the door as soon as I walked in. The twins are playing upstairs. Good luck! That was my first sign that this was not going to be a typical babysitting job. I looked around the house and checked out the kitchen to see what food the parents had left for us. Then I went upstairs to meet the twins. Josie was lighting her Barbies on fire, and Jonathan was watching and giggling. I rushed over and immediately grabbed the Barbie out of her hand and dropped it into the trash can. Then I introduced myself and calmly explained the dangers of fire. I asked Josie why she would burn her doll like that. "Just practicing." That gave me the chills. After that initial meeting, things became pretty normal. The kids drew pictures, and they asked me questions about my life. I strongly believe that babysitters need to always be honest with their kids and to answer any questions they have. So, I told them about my life and my goals for the future. I felt like it was going well, until I asked to see their pictures. Jonathan drew a woman who looked a lot like me. She was scared of something, like she had seen something she shouldn't have. He used up all of the red crayon. Then, I saw Josie's paper. She hadn't drawn a picture at all. Instead, she wrote down a list of information that I had just told her about myself. I asked her why she was taking notes. "Just in case." These kids were really freaking me out. I decided that art time was over. I said that it was time to go downstairs so I could get their dinners ready. They did not like that idea. Josie started screaming, and Jonathan broke every single crayon on the table, glaring at me the entire time. I had to pull them out of the room. By the time I took them downstairs, I noticed that Josie had hidden a pair of scissors in her back pocket. I confiscated that. As I microwaved them leftovers, I laid out some ground rules for the weekend. They acted like they were listening. Then, I served them each a plate. Josie took one bite and spat it into Jonathan's hair. Jonathan just laughed. "No spitting, please." They took that as a personal challenge. Both of them threw food right at my face. I jumped out of my chair, but they just followed me throughout the house. With their plates in their hands, they just kept scooping up food and throwing it at me. I had to lock myself in the bathroom until they calmed down. I could hear them outside the door, giggling and talking about me. Josie was listing off the names of all my family members. I guess she'd memorized them. I had no idea why she did that. Still in the bathroom, I tried to call their father, but the call went straight to voicemail. I didn't know what else to do. When I finally got out of the bathroom, after washing my face and rubbing soap on all the food stains, the twins were sitting on the couch, watching Coco Melon and acting like nothing had happened. I was done with this. I told them it was time to go to bed. Without saying anything, they both stood up and walked toward their bedroom. The fact that they didn't argue with me was really unnerving. I made sure they were in bed and turned off their light. As I was leaving their bedroom, I told them good night. "Sweet dreams." It took me a while to go to sleep. I kept thinking about how I would handle the rest of the weekend. I'd been trained to deal with difficult children, but this was next level. I honestly had no idea what I was going to do. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep. In the middle of the night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps. The room was dark, so I couldn't see the twins, but I knew they were there. Then, I felt a splash of liquid on my butt. At first, I thought they'd dumped water on me, but then I smelled it. Alcohol. Those little monsters had emptied a bottle of vodka onto my bed. Where did they even get that? I forced myself to stay calm, even though I wanted to scream. In a stern voice, I told them to get out of the room. Jonathan just laughed. But Josie, she said something that will always haunt me. "Let's see if she burns faster than Barbie." That psychopath dropped a lighter on me, and my vodka-soaked pajama pants immediately went up in flames. I'd never felt such excruciating pain. My ass was on fire. I hopped out of the bed and tried to pat away the fire, but that just burned my hands. Looking back, I should have just dropped to the floor and rolled around. That's what you're supposed to do, but I was in too much pain to think straight. I raced into the bathroom and switched on the shower. It didn't work. The kids had somehow turned off the water. Screaming in pain, I collapsed into the bathtub, which was still wet enough to put out the fire. I lay there for a while, my anger outweighing my pain. and the twins stood just outside the door, watching me and smiling. Barbie burned faster. An ambulance took me to the hospital. I guess a paramedic waited with the twins until their parents came back. My parents ended up paying for my surgery to get my butt fixed. The family didn't apologize, though. Apparently, this sort of thing happened a lot. Lexi was my best friend since 3rd grade. We did everything together. We didn't have any secrets. That changed senior year. I started dating John, the captain of the baseball team and one of the 5 hottest guys at our school. John was amazing, and I felt so lucky that he liked me. The only problem was that he wanted to keep our relationship a secret until after graduation. His family was super religious, and he'd get in trouble if his parents found out about us. So I didn't tell a soul, not even Lexi. That was the first secret I kept from her. John and I secretly dated for months. He'd ignore me in public, but act really affectionate when we were alone. He made all these promises about the future, acting as if we were destined to be together forever. And then, one day, I was behind the school to help set up for our spring formal when I caught Lexi with John. I was furious. I should have been furious at John, but I was so in love with him that all my anger went straight toward Lexi. She stole my boyfriend. So the next day I confronted her in the hallway before school, called her some terrible names. She acted shocked. Why are you saying all that? Because you're a slut. Things escalated really fast. One second we were standing far apart and shouting at each other. The next second she was on top of me. It was a genuine catfight. She clawed at me. I pulled her hair. We both screamed in each other's faces. A group of our classmates had to pull us apart. It was so embarrassing, but I felt too angry to get embarrassed. We both ended up in the principal's office. He wasn't there yet, so we had to wait outside his door. Neither of us said anything until I finally broke the silence. I'm dating John. You need to stay away from him. You're dating John? Yeah, right. We finally started talking about it. And it didn't take long to come to the same realization. John was playing us both. He was dating both of us, and because he swore us to secrecy, the other didn't know. Well, we knew now. John was an asshole, and he'd almost destroyed our friendship. Lexi and I hugged it out. We cried. And when the principal finally came, we told him that we were just rehearsing for a play. We weren't really fighting. He believed us and let us leave. We were supposed to go back to class, but we decided to ditch the rest of school. It was time to teach John a lesson. We started by telling each other everything that John said. It felt great to have everything out in the open, though it was frustrating to know that we fell for the exact same lies and empty promises. Most of what he told us was word for word the same. Then we went on our phones to look for anything that we could use against him. We had some flirty texts, and even though he made us both promise to never take photos of him, we both secretly did. So yeah, we had enough evidence against him. Now we needed to figure out how to use it. We thought about putting it all up on a slideshow during homecoming, but Lexi nixed that idea. It would embarrass us just as much as him. Besides, he wouldn't even be there. His parents never let him go to school dances. That made me think of the perfect plan. We'd expose him to his religious parents. It was the best way to hit him where it hurt. We didn't know exactly how yet, but we'd figure it out. That night, John snuck over to my house. He'd heard about my catfight with Lexi and assumed that we discovered the truth. I gave him the same excuse that we gave the principal, and he fell for it. And then I got really flirty and asked about his plans for the weekend. I have to give a speech at my church. It'll end at 4, and then I can head over afterward. Oh, What's the speech about?" The importance of abstinence. I forced myself not to laugh. It was our last time. Felt great, too. No regrets. Especially since I secretly recorded his moaning on my phone. After he left, I called Lexi and told her to meet me on Saturday at John's church. Lexi distracted the church's IT guy while I swapped out John's PowerPoint for something a little less appropriate. Then we waited outside the church until John arrived. As he was getting ready for his speech, we went inside and took our seats in the back. He's Lutheran, so the event was a very serious affair. Everyone was dressed up and looking somber. The pastor, John's uncle, came out and introduced him. When John got behind the pulpit, he saw us in the crowd. It felt great to watch him flinch. I'm pretty sure that he expected us to do something, but it was too late to back out now. He started his speech, talking about the importance of living a moral life. Then he switched on his PowerPoint. The first image was him in his birthday suit. He immediately tried to switch off the projector, but since Lexi took the IT guy's controller, she switched to the next image. And the next, and the next. The entire church went silent, outside of John's mumbled excuses. He kept saying that the photos weren't him, it was AI, and that he had no idea what was going on. Then he ran out of words and let out a long, hopeless moan. That was the perfect transition to switch to the last slide, which had that audio of his same moan, different context. When his audio shifted to him loudly screaming, "Oh, Jesus!" he ran out of the church as fast as he could. Lexi and I stayed in our seats, enjoying the rest of the show. The pastor awkwardly stood back up and announced that John's speech was canceled. We never got in trouble for what we did. I assume that the church didn't want to mention the speech ever again. And when we saw John at school on Monday, he ran in the other direction. Lexi and I are best friends again. No more secrets. We're both still single, too. Life's too short to waste any time on guys like John.